and welcome back to Hugs and Knishes from Auntie Shirley's Kitchen. Today, it's very important, we're getting ready for Rosh Hashannah, the Jewish New Year, and it's traditional to eat apples and honey, or things made with apples and honey. So today we're going to make my dear Aunt Rhoda's apple cake. Now, as we all know, Aunt Rhoda is dead, and as they always say, you should never speak ill of the dead, only good. Aunt Rhoda is dead, good. So, we're going to start with her apple cake, because that's the only good thing she left on this earth. God knows she didn't leave me anything in the will. Anyway, that's beside the point. We're going to start with our sugar. We have, let's read the recipe here. We have 2 cups of sugar into our mixing bowl. And we're going to mix that with 1.5 cups of vegetable oil. Right into the bowl, just like so. Now you grab a whisk. Hold on, I gotta grab my whisk from all the way over here. You grab a whisk and you start going, and you jiggle the tuchus just a little bit. You gotta get the motion. It's a whole body thing. And you cream this until it's nice and smooth. It'll be a little grainy at first, like my tuchus, but it turns out lovely. The next thing you'd add are 3 eggs, one at a time. Now, you crack the egg, and you try and get all of it into the bowl. No shells. There's going to be some crunch in this cake, but if there's any crunch from the eggshells, I'll come over to your house and kill you myself. Like, I hate when people get eggshells and things, and they just leave it, and eggshells are... I got an eggshell. Hold on, I got an eggshell in there. Wait. Well, anywho, you got the... No eggshells in your recipe. You hear me? None. So, you mix in the eggs, and you make sure they're well incorporated to your batter. Now, this should be a little smoother at this point. The next thing we're going to add, let's see. The dry ingredients. We start with 3 cups of all-purpose flour. So, we've got 1 cup, we've got 2 cups, and we have our 3rd cup. And what do you do with the 3rd cup? You know what's special about the 3rd cup? Nothing. There's nothing special at all. It's just like any other sack of flour. Just because you're the 3rd cup of flour doesn't mean your parents love you any less or any more, or you're the baby. Because, 3rd cups of flour tend to get everything they want in life. But no! He's the 3rd cup of flour. He's the baby. Man. Anywho, there's nothing special about the 3rd cup of flour. That's my point. Get all the oil out. All right, now we have our flour. We have our sugar. Time for the salt. The salt is going to be 1 teaspoon. You get your measuring thingies. This is a tablespoon. Here we go, teaspoon. And it's very important you don't over salt it, because you want a little bit of salt, but you want it to be mostly a sweet New Year. That's why we eat apples and honey, only sweet things. And then you take a little bit of the salt, just like this, and for good luck. Yeah, anywho. Keep stirring. This should be really thick, not dough-like, but very thick, much like your Uncle Barry. Around the tummy, he's getting a little thicker. I tell him he should hit the gym, but really, he just sits there and watches the television all day long. I swear. He drives me up and down the walls with that man and the television. Anywho, we've got the flour, we got the salt. Cinnamon, it's time for cinnamon. 2 teaspoons, and it says heaping. This is what gives this cake all the flavor, is really the cinnamon. So you take the cinnamon, just like this, and you give it 2 heaping teaspoons of cinnamon. Now, my grandchildren were talking to me on the phone the other day, just like that. Heaping teaspoons of cinnamon. 1 and 2, just like that. And a little bit for good luck. My grandchildren were talking to me on the phone the other day, and they said something about a cinnamon challenge. And these fakakdala kids decided it was a smart idea to eat cinnamon straight out of the jar. What I'm doing now is I'm going to switch to a wooden spoon because it's getting too thick for the whisk. So you grab your wooden spoon, just like so, and you continue mixing. Everything should be well incorporated. It's going to turn a beautiful brown color. The cinnamon does that. And so after the cinnamon, we add baking soda. We add 1 teaspoon of baking soda. Just like this. That'll make sure the cake rises. After the baking soda, we add a teaspoon of vanilla. And you want to make sure you have the really good vanilla. I don't know why someone would be so silly as to eat an entire tablespoon full of cinnamon. It's silly. Silly cinnamon. I think it's ridiculous. Anywho, never mind. Anyway, so you keep mixing. At this point, it should be rather thick, but you want to make sure everything is very well combined. It should almost look like a sugar cookie dough. But you want to get sure all of the dry ingredients, especially that baking powder, or the baking soda. What is this? Soda, baking soda. You want to make sure that's very combined. Don't miss it, because that's what's going to help your cake in the end. Now, after the baking soda, vanilla, good. Now it's time for the apples. I put them back in the refrigerator. I like to keep them cold. This is 4 red, delicious apples, cored, peeled, and chopped up into chunks, about, yay big, an inch or so. They're just delicious that time of year, really. So they go into the bowl, just like this, and make sure they're coated. It should look like they're all coated. It should be really thick at this point, and it says it, well, wait a minute, let me read this thing again. It says very thick. It would look like the apples are not covered, but it bakes beautifully. Anywho, so you just sort of incorporate them. You don't really have to coat all of the apples at this point. My sister said, "Oh, Shirley, are you making Rhoda's apple cake this year?" And I said, "Yes, of course, Nadine, I'm making Shirley's apple cake for Rosh Hashannah. I make it every year." He said, "Ew, Shirley, I'm using apples that I grew in my tree on my farm because I'm married to a big shot doctor. We have all this property with friggin' apple trees." And I said, "Well, good for you, Nadine." And then she wished me a Rosh Hashannah, a happy Rosh Hashannah, a good yontif, and I said, "Well, happy Rosh Hashannah back to you." And it wasn't as insulting as I'd liked, but I was too good of a person. Now I'm adding a cup of chopped walnuts. You can add these, are optional. If there's an allergy, you should not include them. But if the person who has the nut allergy is someone you don't like, include them anyway. I'm breaking them up just with my hands. They don't have to be really, really rough. But just a little bit goes a long way. And they go straight into the bowl with the rest of your apples. And we mix. We keep mixing. We keep mixing. Oy. I don't know why we make this cake for Rosh Hashannah. We could make it for Passover and remember why we're slaves. Jesus. Ugh. Well, Jesus really didn't have anything to do with it. Never mind. Now, you take a tube pan. This is a bundt pan with the tube that comes out. Grease it, 9-inch tube pan, and you put all of it in to the tubed pan. Just like this. There we go. In you go. Come on, you friggin' apple. This is why Aunt Rhoda died, because this apple cake was such a pain in the tuchus to make. It killed her, I'm sure of it. All right, here we go. Okay. Just like that. Make sure you get all of it, all your precious apples. You hear that, Nadine? Get all your precious apples from your fakakdala farm with your rich, schmancy doctor husband. And meanwhile, I'm stuck here married to Barry, who's a schluck, doesn't get off the couch. Barry, turn off the television! He never pays attention to me anymore. Anyhow, scrape down your bowl and make sure it's all there. You can flatten it out so it bakes evenly. Just make sure the top is relatively, it doesn't have to be smooth, but make sure it's even. It's not all on one side of the pan. There we go, just like that. And now what we're going to do, is stick this into a 350-degree oven for an hour and 15 minutes. It's a long time to make a cake, but it's a big cake and it's very dense. And it tastes delicious. I'm sure this is going straight onto my tuchus because you know what my mother always used to say, a moment on the lips, a lifetime on the hips. All right, this goes into the oven for an hour and 15 minutes, and I'll see you later. We're gonna pull it out, and it's gonna be beautiful.